We've all heard the phrase many times in our lives, click it or ticket. Unless you put 30 plus kids or adults in a large top-heavy vehicle together, yeah, that makes sense. Today is my goal to inform you on the hazards of seatbeltless buses and to persuade you to take action in order to help implement the law in Louisiana by persuading our state government to allot a budget for seatbelts on buses. We've all been in a bus at one point or another, and though we have fond memories of school field trips or of drives or in public transportation or to and from school, we are all aware of how scary those rides can be. I was personally in a tragic bus accident in which I feel like lives could have been spared if we had been wearing seatbelts that were not installed in the charter bus. It is for this reason I am so passionate about this topic. I'll explain further about my personal story, the laws in place for both school buses and other types of buses, as well as what you can do to help change this. I will give a warning that my story is not an easy one to hear, so if you feel like you do not handle unfortunate stories or somewhat gory details well, I would urge you to skip ahead a few minutes. It was July 12th of 2009. I was 15, and I and the rest of First Baptist Church Shreveport's youth group were on our way to Macon, Georgia, in a custom seatbeltless charter bus. It was in Meridian, Mississippi, that one of our back left tires blew. I was sitting right above it and could tell right away. Everyone on the bus went silent, except for the sounds of panic as we swayed back and forth on the interstate, while the driver attempted to control the fishtail motion, but unfortunately the bus was too far out of control, and it turned all the way around the interstate and then rolled 3 times towards the tree line. And within those 3 flips, I and several others were thrown from the bus, and when it finally came to a stop, it landed on top of me and 2 of my friends, Maggie Lee Henson and Brandon Ugarte. Brandon was pronounced dead on the scene, and Maggie Lee could not be stabilized as her brainstem was too greatly damaged and passed away 2 weeks later. There is some redemption to the story. The miracle was that there was a National Guard troop traveling right behind us, coming home early from rollover collision accident training. So they pulled over and they got everyone still in the bus out and then lifted it off of my 2 friends and I and got us help quickly. They are why I am alive today. Though I was beyond blessed to come out alive of the accident, it still cost me a broken femur and a broken clavicle, as well as a broken eye socket, bruised lungs, and lacerations to my face in months of my life while I tried to walk again, but most importantly, 2 friends. It's my profound belief that had our bus had seatbelts, 2 wonderful souls would still be here today. Since our accident, there have been many others most nearly identical to it. All buses involved in these accidents were without seatbelts and have been mixes of school buses and other types of buses. By now you're wondering, so why don't we have a law implementing seatbelts in all buses? We do, at least for school buses. Louisiana is one of 6 states that have laws requiring seatbelts in school buses. Where the law states, Louisiana requires the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education to 1. Adopt rules and regulations requiring every bus used primarily to transport students to be equipped with seatbelts by June 30th, 2004, and 2. Require the governing authority of each public and private school to comply with these rules and regulations. However, Louisiana makes compliance with the law contingent on the appropriation of funds. So, keywords being contingent on funds. According to LA Education Department consultant Gerald Saucer, funding for the program does not seem likely in the near future. To break it down to basics, the sole reason we are risking the lives of kids in the state is because legislators don't want to spend the money. According to an article by CBS, since November 2013, under new regulations, all new motor coaches and other larger buses must be equipped with 3-point lap shoulder belts. But the rules do not take effect until 2016, and existing buses are not required to be retrofitted with seatbelts. However, this does not apply to city or school buses. Ever since our accident, and with each other accident that has happened, the question of seatbelts in buses has been more closely examined Though there is more attention, information, and controversy surrounding school buses rather than charter or public buses, I have to wonder how many more accidents like mine have to happen in order to make safety an actual priority. In her article, a woman named Jenny Burgle pointed out that the main rebuttals for the opposition of seatbelts in buses are, if they do prevent injuries, that they are more costly, and that it would mean less seats per bus. But I propose, isn't all that worth even saving one life? Isn't a higher cost less important than the ultimate cost? If you believe it as much as I do, then there is something you can do to I urge you to contact your local state representative to make a case for the funding for a safer transportation option for our community's children. I would also urge you to educate yourself, to dig further, be vocal about it in order to bring attention to something our society has just accepted as normal. Even though it is potentially and has proven to be in the past fatal, if seatbelts were put into buses, I think of how many lives could be spared. Think of all the cases of car accidents in which people miraculously walked away unscathed. Because of their seatbelts. Personally, it is hard for me to fathom why this is even a question. I can't help but wonder from time to time what life had been like for I or my friends if we had had seatbelts in the bus that flipped. What happens next time someone has an accident like mine? Odds are they won't have a National Guard troop traveling right behind them. Odds are it'll be fatal for at least one person in the bus. And odds are, if they do have seatbelts, there's a much better chance they will live to tell their story too, and hopefully advocate for those who also might find themselves in a similar situation. But for now, our government decides lives are more important than the previous budgets. I will pray no one has to go through what I did and do everything I can to get seatbelts into buses. I hope you will too.